The planet is restless, Captain. They want their podcast. And they shall have it. I'll beam down to the surface. You have the bridge. Captain, that is illogical. These are Trek fans. They will challenge and dissect your knowledge with great emotion. It is a mission fraught with danger, peril, and grave risk. Suggestions? Send in the red shirts.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, finally we're back. It's the pink shirts.
What?
Yeah, hey, what can I say? It's been so long since we've done this. I've been washing my red shirt time and time again, and it's faded. So, you know, there are a couple.
That's why we officers dry clean our uniforms.
Well, I didn't know there was a dry cleaner on the internet on the Starship, but okay, you got to give me his number or get me in touch with him. But yeah, I'm wearing a pink shirt today because just trying to keep up with you guys and get your schedules. You know, your duty rotations. It's murder on me. You're killing me. But no,
we're busy people.
We are the red shirts. Before we get into it, let's just catch up a little bit. The last show we did was the audio commentary for First Contact. We got some positive stuff, some positive feedback on that. So we'll have to revisit another audio commentary again. But let's start with let's see. I'm gonna put him at ops. That would be Craig Johnson, otherwise known as Craig J. That's the first time I used your full name. I feel like I just revealed your secret identity.
Well, otherwise, Ibanian always go everywhere. How's everybody doing? I'm recording with the studio window open today. First time since I cannot even remember.
Oh, so you're on Wessex Court with the window open, huh?
That's right.
You had dinner with one of my ex-neighbors.
Yeah, Rob.
How did that go? How was that?
That went good. It was great.
Where'd you guys go?
Red Robin. Awesome burgers.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Le Chanteuse or La Trattoria or something. He said Red Robin.
It was lunchtime, actually, not dinner. So, you know, it was
Rob,
some great burgers.
Rob, if you're listening, that's what Craig thinks of you, Red Robin. Now,
it cost me $40.
Okay. Now, how is our little cadet doing?
She's doing great.
Yeah?
Gabrielle is doing great. Happy baby, great baby, and yeah, everything's going great.
I heard she's
8 months old now.
I heard she was putting in some work on the holodeck with the bat lift. So, okay.
Uh-oh.
All right, okay. Now, at communications, we have the biggest and the sexiest of them all. That would be Big Sexy. What's going on?
Well, I'm over here rocking my Lieutenant Uhura little communications skirt.
Oh, wait, stop.
Bad visual.
Stop.
Bad visual.
Stop. Why would you say that?
You stuck me in communications.
Well, listen, on the USS Grissom in Star Trek 3, that was a male communications officer. It's a male communications officer on Discovery.
Who was it on Discovery?
It's the brother. I don't know his name. Wait a minute. You know what? Now, why they got... See, I guess black people always got to answer the phone.
Oh, Lord. 5 minutes in and here we go.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, if you're going to be rocking the skirt like my man did in the pilot of TNG...
Oh, forgot about Home Skillet.
Please tell me you at least shaved your legs, okay? Please.
I'm a bit concerned that you pay such attention.
Hey, it's nothing you can't unsee anymore, you know, when you talk about that. Anyway, let's get this ship moving. That was ship. I did say ship with a P.
Impulse power.
Yeah, there you go. Quarter impulse power.
Yep.
So we got a lot of stuff that's hit the interwebs in regards to Star Trek Discovery, and we're just gonna talk about some Discovery on this journey here today. So let's just get into it. So we have some new cast members that have come out in the last month, and I have to tell you, at least with one of them, I'm cool with it. I'm pleasantly surprised, and that would be Black Bolt himself. I'm gonna leave space for Big Sexy to go off right there. You weren't a fan of Inhumans, Big Sexy?
I liked Inhumans, actually.
Oh my God.
You know, from what little bit I saw, I liked it. I mean, clearly there are problems with it, but it wasn't. I didn't think it was bad. Like the last OG. See, that's terrible.
Okay. All
But
right, see.
I digress.
Right. All right, so we're talking about Anson Mount, formerly of Hell on Wheels, I believe. And as well as he was in the show we just mentioned, he played Black Bolt, the lead Inhuman in the god-awful, wretched TV show, The Inhumans, which I think got canceled after one episode.
You never got through the wire, so what do you know?
I know that show sucked ass. I know that much. Listen, when you cut Medusa's hair, you got a problem.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah,
that was stupid. Agreed.
But I think, I've always had issue kind of when you try to recast people on a role that was kind of like a signature role. Now, Jeffrey, what was it? Jeffrey Hunter? He played the original Captain Pike?
Yes.
Okay. Not saying that he put his foot on that role or was anything memorable, but I see him when I think of Captain Pike. And as much as I like Bruce Greenwood, who played Pike in the Kelvin Universe films, it still just bugged me. But this guy, if you're gonna do Pike, I mean, he's got the look. I mean, he's got the physicality. He looks a little bit like David Hasselhoff to me, but that's okay. That's okay. He has that, that typical all-American square-jawed look, What do you guys think about this casting?
Well, I'm not familiar with him outside of his work on Inhumans. I never saw Hell on Wheels. I understand that Discovery has to embrace the past. I'm okay with that. But again, as long as they don't take Pike and make the characterization completely wrong, like they did Harry Mudd, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. In the actor looks similar enough. We only saw Pike in one episode of Star Trek, the pilot. And as you pointed out, Mike, he was played by a completely different person in the Menagerie.
Right.
And although that he was supposed to be burned, so his face had a lot of prosthetics on it. So I think he can pull it off. And as Mike said, don't change his character. If he stays the same person we saw in the pilot of Star Trek, that's great.
So what would they have to do to change his character? I mean, I kind of think there's a limited play in how you portray a starship captain, right? I mean, what would he have to do to make you say, "Oh, the hell with this. This is terrible"?
Well, again, we already have a template of what Pike is supposed to be. So if they take this guy and make him more along the lines of, say, somebody really, really contemplative, somebody almost like, Vulcan stoic in his demeanor, that's not Pike.
But see, the Pike I remember, and Craig, this is your bailiwick here. The Pike I remember was very stiff, not very engaging.
See, I disagree with that.
Yeah? How so?
He was the one who called, I forget her character's name, but he called Majel Roddenberry's character number one. He started that.
Well, no, yeah, I agree with that, but I'm just saying.
And there better be a number one on that ship too.
Yeah. Well, we can get into that, and we'll get into that. But I mean, I appreciate that he followed a ranking order, but I'm just talking about the actor himself. He just wasn't very. Craig, help me out. He wasn't very engaging. I don't think. What'd you think?
I'm just remembering back now. I think he questioned his decision making as a captain and was worried about having to look after all these lives. He seemed to be at odds with himself about being a captain. But like I said, he was only there on screen for 42 minutes or whatever in that first episode. So we didn't flesh out his character in any way.
Now, it's interesting to note that this will be he'll be the fourth actor to portray Pike. So we have Jeffrey Hunter, we had whoever that guy was in the wheelchair, and then we have Bruce Greenwood. So he'll be the fourth person. So, what did you guys think of Bruce Greenwood's portrayal of Pike? Was it? Well, it was nowhere near, right?
It was forgettable.
Oh, wow.
I don't even remember that there was a Pike in the alternative universe.
He was the guy. He was the guy that when Kirk in the first film, I believe, Kirk gets into the bar fight, and he's the guy who saddles up to the bar and says, "Hey, are you gonna quit dicking around?" And your dad was he was a great Starfleet officer, and then he got killed in the second one, I believe. You don't remember that character? He was in the first two films, the Kelvin films, and he was kind of a mentor to Kirk at that point. Do you remember him in those two films, the first two?
Now that you called him a mentor, I remember it a little bit. But now that when they did that, they went back and again, let me qualify this. I think the Kelvin movies suck. So there you go.
Okay.
So when you twist history like that and paint Pike in that, well, I'm going to teach Kirk how to do things. No. I don't know of any documented text where they actually interacted, and I didn't know that Pike was that substantially older than Kirk. No, I hated it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything. I guess we could go to the Memory Alpha Wiki or the Okuda Dictionary, but I don't know if there was a big age difference between Pike and Kirk either. But actually, this reminds me of a question. This is for you, Craig, since you're into the TOS version. So in the Kelvin films, they established that George Kirk. What's that? You don't like the name George, huh?
I'm just picturing Costanza in a Trek uniform.
Well, it's funny. George was in Jason Alexander was in the Voyager.
Yes, he was.
George is getting upset.
And I think it was called Think Tank. But
Yep.
Did Kirk? Is it established in the original series that Kirk's father had a dad named George that was in Starfleet?
I actually don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
So, J.J. Abrams taking liberties again, huh?
I think so.
That's why the Kelvin universe sucks.
Because there's going to be a fourth. There's going to be a fourth film. And we're kind of getting off track here. But since we're talking about Kelvin universe, and it is a part of Star Trek, whether we like it or not. But they're going to make history by hiring the first female director for a Star Trek film. Her name is S.J. Clarkson. I am not familiar with. I think she's done some TV work. Anybody familiar with her name?
I'm not. Let me pull her up. But the thing is, I'm surprised it took them so long. Honestly.
Really?
Because haven't women directed some of the series?
That's a good point. I would think that during the Berman era, yes. I know there were a lot of female writers. Did DC Fontana direct any episodes?
I was about to ask you that. I don't know if she directed or just wrote a few.
She wrote a lot, didn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she wrote a ton. I
think she's probably one of the top. She's wrote some of the top episodes of the Berman era. I could be wrong about that. The fact that I remember her name speaks to something. But I'm looking here. Clarkson is best known for her work on the TV scene with shows as Dexter, Bates Motel, Orange is the New Black, and Jessica Jones. She recently directed a handful of episodes of The Defenders. That was the Netflix show.
Yeah.
From a couple years ago, I guess.
Last year.
Defenders was last year?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, looking at her body of work, I'm going back to my Ava DuVernay and Black Panther mode. Looking at this work, I don't know if this makes me confident that she might have a grasp of Trek.
We've talked about this on other shows, and I think it's a opportune time to get into it here. Obviously, because you are a director, and I'm a knucklehead consumer. Now,
okay.
A lot of times,
in all transparency, let me just be clear. I direct corporate pharmaceutical videos.
That's fine. You still direct.
Okay. Continue.
A lot of times people will say that I want so and so should direct this film because they're going to bring a certain sensibility. Now, to me, that sounds like bullshit. If you're a director and you are familiar or make yourself familiar with what you're working with, and I don't mean just on the surface, I mean get into it and, dig around and see what's happening. Why not? So again, I don't think she's done any sci-fi like this, but let's see what she can do. And again, it's a Kelvin universe. Who cares? So let's see what she can do with it.
Well, you have a valid you may have a valid point, but I look at it kind of like this. Well, from a metaphorical standpoint, I'm like, let's say you have a proctologist and you have a heart surgeon. They both have studied human anatomy. Which one do you want to be giving you a triple bypass? You know what I'm saying? There are specialties. No one found that funny. There are specialties.
Q, man, yeah. But again, look, using your premise, Q, I'm an attorney, okay?
Yep.
A lot of people roll up on me, oh man, I slipped and fell and so-and-so. I don't do that.
Right.
So I say no. So I would assume your proctologist would say the same thing. Hey man, I don't do that. So if you need a heart problem or have a heart situation, you go to a cardiologist. There's someone who does that. So it's really not the same. And,
you're making my point. Sounds like.
No, wait. Now, you transpose that to directing?
Yeah.
If a person who doesn't have a deep resume of a certain genre,
right,
but they come along and get offered Star Trek, either they say no, or, like we lawyers would, you get familiar with it. So I'm assuming since she's been hired to do the gig, she has and is doing her work on researching how these characters should be. The worst thing that a director does is when a director comes into a property, and I'm looking at you, Fantastic Horror Films, and says, well, you know what, I'm going to change everything about it.
Yeah, that's called tranking. That's what they call tranking a film. Listen, I hear what you're saying. But if you are going to spend $100+ million on your film, I mean, I don't think that's the time to say, let's see what she or he can do.
Well, I'm sure a lot of things go into selecting a director, and clearly they think she's got the chops for it. I'm guessing they're probably leaning on her Jessica Jones and Defenders work, especially, as something related to the sci-fi genre. Now it's a stretch, for me as well, but let's do what she can do.
I would prefer if she or anyone had a little bit more effects-laden movies on their resume, or more, CGI type of projects on their resume.
But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, but not on $100+ million film.
I'm sorry, are there low-budget CGI films that I'm not aware of?
Mark, I mean, seriously, TV nowadays. I mean, Discovery itself, the TV show Discovery. Yeah, you can get your chops on TV first, and then jump into. Now, listen. Having said all that, when I looked up this woman's looked up her information, I'm looking at the numbers for Star Trek, the last 3 movies. Man, I don't know how they're making a fourth one, to be honest. I'm going to read this. It says here, the original 2009 reboot. Now, that's 2009. I think movies that kind of entered that era of being expected to open up to millions of dollars. It says the original 2009 reboot earned $385 million worldwide, while its sequel, Into Darkness, made $467 million globally in 2013. The third one, Star Trek Beyond, brought in $343 million worldwide. Those numbers sound pathetic.
Yeah, not the best numbers out there.
Now, since we're just talking Trek in general now, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that these movies are not coming in at $600 million at least, $700 million worldwide?
Because A, they're reboots, and people are sick of reboots. And B, it's a property that it's like rebooting The Godfather. There's some things you just don't with. And then you make all these wholesale changes? No. Now, on this premise about directing, I'm looking at the Discovery directors for season 1. Episode 12 was directed by a woman, Hanel M. Culpepper. Now, her resume includes things like 90210, Parenthood, Criminal Minds, Revenge, and Grimm. So I don't see any type of CGI stuff on her resume.
What did she direct? What was it that she directed that was Trek related?
She directed episode 12 of Discovery.
Okay.
But nothing she's done before that would lend you to believe that she's in the sci-fi.
Well, I don't remember. What was episode 12?
Vaulting Ambition.
I hate to say I don't remember it by the title.
Wow, Q. Come on.
Well, which one was that? Just refresh it.
I don't remember either.
See there? Craig, do you remember what was episode 12?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But what I would say, my take on this is, if she's a good director, and she's directed things like Bates Motel, which, by the way, was an amazing and incredible retelling of the Norman Bates story. Bloody amazing. Really, you should watch that. It's just, you just are hanging on to your seat throughout the whole series. Then if she bones up on Star Trek, and instead of just coming into it without any knowledge, understands the character interactions and what's come before and the plots and the ship and sound effects and things that I expected, I think she'll be fine.
Agreed. And she's got a lot of latitude in the Kelvin universe, because one thing I don't like about the universe is they tend to cram a lot of things in it that shouldn't be in it. I understand it's a different universe, but like, for instance, I'm expecting someone to have the Borg pop up anytime.
No.
Okay.
No, they better not do that. To be honest, this universe, the Kelvin universe, is so different. I don't even think they should be allowed to use some of the more classic antagonists like the Borg, or I don't want to see Q show up, or
No.
They didn't get the Klingons right. I don't want to see Borg in it.
I was just going to say that Star Trek 2 from the Kelvin universe was also about Khan, so that mirrored the original series. Right? The search for Spock was not mirrored in the Kelvin universe. It was a totally different story. So one wonders, this is probably never going to happen, but it would be cool to see a more lighthearted Star Trek 4, like the original series Star Trek 4, where they come to San Francisco. That'll probably never happen, but anyway, I was just thinking out loud that it would be cool to see that kind of thing.
Well,
maybe not.
I guess we'll see. Talking about Star Trek 4, it's a good movie, but I just felt like they kind of cheated out by let's just put them in the modern day. Well, it was 1984 modern day.
Computer.
Yeah, right.
Scotty talking to the old man.
Right.
How quaint.
I go to Star Trek to see the future. I don't want to see what I can go outside when I leave the theater.
That movie was going great until right at the end, where they showed that stock footage of the whales in the background. I just thought, come on, people. Couldn't you just spend a few bucks on some CGI to make it look like it's real? Really?
The soundtrack was pretty lame, too.
I don't remember it now.
Like I just remember when the fishing trawler that's trying to hunt the whales, that they're trying to kill the whales, and they the bird of prey, it was a Vulcan, was it a Klingon ship? Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
The Klingon bird of prey hovers over them and dematerializes or decloaks, and you can clearly see that the ship is under a shadow of the ship of the bird of prey. But then when they would cut to the tight shots of the crew, it was pure sunlight. It's like, come on.
But the soundtrack, the little tune that they play when the Klingon ship appears, I always love it. It's that, and they did it in that scene as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just cool.
So, all right, well, okay, getting back to Discovery, we have one other new addition. Now, I don't know if she's going to be a new cast member or just a guest star for a couple episodes. But this is a woman I knew very little about, and I'll be honest with you. I thought she was Asian for the longest time.
Wow. Said it on air, too. Wow.
I did not know her. Her name is Tig Notaro. And I'd heard a lot of people say, they liked her comedy, this and that. I looked her up, and no, she's not Asian. She's from Tennessee, I believe, from Nashville or something like that. And she's going to be playing the chief engineer of the USS Hiawatha, which is clearly a new ship that we've not seen before. And I knew nothing about this woman, and I was concerned that, putting hiring a comedian to appear on Star Trek as the crew, it flashed me back to when Richard Pryor appeared in Superman 3. I'm like, this isn't good. But subsequently, I went on YouTube and checked out a clip of her comedy. Yeah, we got nothing to worry about. I don't know why she's called a comedian, because I hardly laughed at anything she had to say. I think she had one joke that made me laugh, and ironically, it was about breast cancer.
Oh.
But she was not very funny. Now, maybe I'll check out some more stuff, but I'm just going by first impressions. Has anyone heard of this woman? Know of this woman? Seen her perform?
Nope. But out of interest, her name is Matilda. That's her first name, which is a very old-fashioned name, I must say.
Hence Tig, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Big Sexy, you ever heard of this woman? You know anything about her?
She ain't funny.
And you say that why? You've seen her perform?
I've seen her stand up. It's not funny. She's like Ray J. Johnson. She has one error. Exactly. Ray J. Johnson.
The guy you can call me Ray? Or you can,
yes.
From when I was 5 years old?
That's how it was. He had the one thing. She's got the one thing. And...
Well, wait. What's the one thing?
Well, I'm going to tread lightly here now.
Here we go.
I'm treading lightly.
All right. Everything
she seems to talk about has something to do with something LGBT related, which is cool. But there's got to be more to your act than that. And when I was looking at the new uniforms for this season, if they have her character make a deadpan comment about the uniforms being sexist, I'm going to know. Give me more than that. If you're an actor, act. Don't cater to a perceived audience.
You mean pander, I take it.
I didn't want to use pander, but we'll use pander. Get in there and do something. Also, this is the first time, other than Whoopi Goldberg, that one of the series has had somebody, with their own name come in and join the cast.
Is she a big name, though?
She's a name, man. I wouldn't call her a big name, but she's a name.
She did have a show on, Amazon Prime, I guess, called, she had an HBO comedy special, Tig Notaro, Boyish Girl Interrupted.
There you go.
And looks like she had a Amazon series 1 Mississippi.
That's about being LGBT in Mississippi.
Oh, so maybe she's from Mississippi, not Tennessee. I got that wrong. So it'll be interesting. I was going to say it's going to be nice to see a female running engineering, but then it hit me, wait a minute, we've already had that. We had that with Belana Torres, and she was a badass, too.
Again, she had a name coming in?
She did?
No, she didn't.
Oh. That's your point.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well,
I mean, I'm thinking on some level the producers are bringing her in to pander, and it's like, let's not pander.
Well, now this could be a loaded comment, and I hope it doesn't come off that way. But you would think that the producers might be saying, well, we do have Stamets, and that fills our quota. So I don't know if they're pandering by bringing her in, because I'm saying what someone might think.
Send your email complaints too.
No. I'm saying what a less evolved person might be thinking. This is why I don't think this is pandering. Pandering would be them just allowing one on the show. So bringing her now, we don't even know if what her character's orientation is going to be.
Can't pull money on it.
Well, I do think this show is very progressive. I think a lot of the behind the scenes or behind the camera personnel, I think they are of alternative lifestyle. So it could go either way.
Again,
no pun intended. No
When
pun
you-
intended.
Damn. When a production is being progressive and embracing, which is great, just do it. Don't talk about it. Just do it. Again, I go back to The Wire.
Well, no one's talking
There
about
were-
it though. No
Wait,
one's mentioned her sexuality.
When they did it on The Wire,
Uh-huh.
they had 3 main characters who were gay. 2 were out. One was, in the closet.
Uh-huh.
But never once in any of the press or advertising for it, oh, you got to watch this show because so and so's gay. No, or we're gonna have guys kissing. Ooh, with Discovery, they went the opposite way. Oh, we're gonna have a first openly gay guy on the show. No one cares.
But Mark, I disagree.
Just do it.
I disagree, and we talked about this. I think when we had Devette C on from Black Girl Nerd. The showrunners did not make a big stink about it. It's just someone leaked it, and then people ran with it. It wasn't the show saying, oh, watch us because of this. You know what I mean? And I don't think they're doing that now. I didn't even realize she was LGBTQ until we talked about it offline. So, although looking at her photo, one might guess that. But I don't like to presume things. And I know I'm treading very lightly.
You fell through the ice about 10 minutes ago.
Listen, I'm all for it. My man, what's my man? Wilson Cruz. He knows where I stand on it. I did like the fact that I thought they were initially on Discovery. They weren't going to go full tilt with his relationship with Stamets, and they went full tilt, and I was like, well, yay, that's the way it should be, So I'm all good with it. I don't really care.
Don't pull a Joy Reid.
What's that now? Don't even go, dude. Wow. Okay. Yes, he brought up Joy Reid.
So should we move on from this story because we've milked it now?
Well, no. Let me just say real quick. Her name is Denise Reno. So,
And what's she gonna be? Is she gonna be a bridge person or a Starfleet person?
She's chief engineer.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, cool. All right.
And it got me thinking. Why didn't we see a chief engineer on Discovery? Are we going to see that?
Who was the last one?
Yeah. Are we going to see that this season on Discovery? Hopefully.
Maybe.
That's one thing I would tell the writers. Look, part of Star Trek was that we had those 4 or 5 key positions that were our family members: doctor, captain, counselor, okay, whatever, con, and engineer. Those were our family, the key members. They got to reestablish that because that's what makes Star Trek for me, Star Trek. Those key figures.
Also, commander, second in command.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Need that.
Exactly. So, Craig, you wanted to take over the ship temporarily.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the teaser trailer that they put online, which the Stranger Things season 3 did the same thing, where they just essentially showed people looking at scripts and getting the sets ready. Did you guys watch that?
Now, is that the one where they show, they talk about the uniforms that we're going to see on the Enterprise?
Yes.
Yeah, let's get into that. I'm thrilled about that. What do you got? What do you got?
So on USS Enterprise, the uniforms are apparently going to be looking the way they did in the original series.
That's what I'm happy about. I did hear that they're going to have some, I don't know what they mean by piping. I'm not sure what that refers to.
It's that thing around the shoulders.
Oh, the rings around the shoulder. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
I don't know why they're going to do that. They shouldn't do that.
Well, they're trying to distinguish it. You want to pay homage, but you don't want to be a blatant ripoff.
But here's the thing: when Pike was was the captain and in the cage, they weren't wearing those. They weren't wearing the primary color uniforms at that point, were they? Weren't they even wearing a different uniform in that episode, the pilot episode?
They had the gold and the blue. I didn't see any red though.
You're right. There are no red.
I thought they were all gold in the cage.
Spock was blue, and so was the Doctor.
But it was like yeah, you're right. but it was like a very light, subtle blue, not like the primary saturated blue that we were familiar with, right?
True.
And this was back when Spock had his hair wasn't perfectly lined or bowl cutted, right? He had a more wild kind of spiky do, if I'm not mistaken.
Bowl cutted.
Yes.
Wow.
he until he went Amish.
And he just keeps it up.
In that same post where they had the video, they spoke a little bit about Section 31 playing a much bigger role in Discovery in season 2.
Oh, I missed that part. What did they say about that?
They said it's going to. I'll have to find it, but let me find it. But the other thing is Spock. I think it's important to talk about Spock appearing, or basically Jonathan Frakes says that Spock will be there, but not in the way that you think. So I suppose the speculation is maybe there will be no actor playing Spock. Maybe there'll be some archive footage of Spock. I don't know. It's speculation to talk about.
Well, this is problematic for me because if you're going to show Christopher Pike, how do you avoid showing a science officer?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
You know, if they do have a young Spock, all I ask is that you take him from Spock when he was in the cage. He was a little cranked up there. I liked him there before he got all, calm and mellow. In that episode, woo, Spock had something to say.
I got to rewatch that episode because I remember someone else said that recently, that it was a totally different Spock than we're familiar with now.
It was.
Yeah. So this is the quote. Jonathan Frakes has confirmed Spock will make an appearance in season 2 of Discovery, just not the way you think.
Right.
So that's cryptic,
well,
isn't it?
I took from that article that we're going to see Spock in flashback as a kid.
Could be, yeah.
And
that's going to happen.
I got to say, that doesn't interest me. Does that? I don't.
Not really.
Who wants to see that?
I'm hoping that they either have video footage of him. So for example, he's on another planet, and he's coming in through. He's not physically on the ship, so we see the original Leonard Nimoy Spock, or it's just audio, something like that, or maybe they do some cool CGI stuff with the original Leonard Nimoy scenes.
Don't do that.
That would be cool too.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Let's not get into that. No.
I'm
looking at the clip now from the cage. I don't see any red.
There were no red shirts, huh? So that means everyone survived, I guess. But, I just feel like, given that they have established, what's her name? Jesus. I forget her name. Sonequa's character. Burnham.
Michael Burnham?
Burnham, yes. Given that they've established her being Spock's adopted sister or whatever, you can't have the Enterprise show up, of which Spock is a crew member now, and not address that by keeping Spock in the shadows. That's why I think this whole Enterprise showing up could be a disaster in the making if they don't handle it correctly.
Yeah.
So far, they've handled things pretty correctly, besides the uniforms and stuff. But,
and the Klingons.
And the Klingons, right.
And they need to make a couple engineering changes because the way the saucer section spins like a roulette wheel, I hate that.
I understand where you're coming from, but it looks dope. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, Lord.
And that's all that matters.
It's inhabited. Those people must have the worst sickness. Motion sickness.
Dude,
no.
I got 2 words for you. Inertial dampers, dude. Come on.
Right.
Exactly. I thought you would say Dramamine, but okay.
Just like in 2001, the scene where the space flight attendant is walking with those gravity boots or whatever up the stairs, and you see the space station spins for artificial gravity. Same thing. I'm gonna go with that. I'm sticking with that.
So one thing I did want to say is we better not see who's the actor that plays Spock from the Kelvin universe.
Quinto.
Zachary. Yeah. We don't need to see him playing Spock in this.
No,
universe.
we do not.
That wouldn't work at all. That would be totally distracting, I think.
I think so.
Plus, I don't like him as Spock.
I can't stand him as Spock.
But
then again, I'm biased. It's like going back to The Godfather, it's like someone playing Michael Corleone. I don't want to see it.
If the guy's good, I don't mind it. But Quinto, I'll put it this way: Leonard Nimoy, well, he was the first guy. He was the first to play any Vulcan we'd ever seen. But given what I've seen thus far, even Tim Russ, I like Tim Russ, but even with him, and now with Quinto, Leonard Nimoy is, no one can touch him playing this character or playing a Vulcan character because, as I've said in previous episodes, I think actors get into this role and they think the best way to show that he is emotionless is just to scowl constantly. And that's not it. And that's what made Leonard Nimoy so brilliant in this role. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but yeah, this could be bad.
Well, again, let's see what they do with it.
But
again, as long as they keep him like the original Spock with that type of enthusiasm, I'm all for it.
Well, all right, so let's move forward. There's a couple other news pieces here. Apparently, there are 2 new Star Trek films in development. Now, I thought I had more information than what I'm seeing here, but it looks like, according to Fandango's Eric Davis, who I'm not sure who he is, but he works for Fandango apparently. First, he said several new Star Trek movies and then clarified that it was 2 right now in the works. So I wonder if one of those is we got all excited about Quentin Tarantino possibly working on at least one of these films. And I've also I read somewhere, and I can't find where I saw this, but one of these films, perhaps the Quentin Tarantino one, might launch into a new version of Star Trek, and it's going to be more anthology-based, which means we get different characters, different starship with each film. What do you guys think about that?
I'm okay with an anthology type series because that way you can look at other aspects of, the whole of the Federation, and you're not really tied down to continuity, and it gives you an opportunity to create and develop new things within that framework.
Correct.
I like that.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I like it or not, because I think the best Star Trek we've seen has been, when we stick to a certain crew, when we get invested in that crew, and typically, if the shows are good, those crew members and those actors become legendary and iconic. So I don't know if I'm into an anthology-based series. Now, having said that, I think about that episode of Black Mirror with the Callister, and that was pretty good. But I think that was just luck. I think that was luck at play. I want to see them do what I'm familiar with, and that is those 5 characters that I can, feel like I can invite into my home when I turn on my TV. And I think you can do that. And to your point, Big Sexy, you can still show different aspects of life in the age of Star Trek. I don't think they've scratched the surface as to showing us delving deeper into some of the aspects of living in what would be the 24th century, if you go forward, that is. What was it like being in the academy? What was it like maybe being a Section 31 agent, who worked in the city, like maybe like a Gotham type of show? I don't feel like I've in the 50 years gotten a good grasp of what it's like to live in the Star Trek future. Do you guys feel like there's been anything shown like that?
Well, no, because we're on the ship 24/7 on the space station.
Well, yeah, okay. I don't think we need to learn about that stuff, really. That's me.
Okay. Well, what if you did a show where maybe part of the series had to do with, was based on Earth, where we see how people live? I don't know. That's interesting to me, to see the typical day of someone in this century, what it looks like, what tech they have, or how they get to work, or I don't know. I would find that interesting. Okay.
No.
All right. All right. Well, the last
Move right along here. On the issue of directing, I don't have it in front of me, the Burma universe, that is. But I do know that, they've had female directors. So I don't see why people are making such a big deal about this, other than it took too damn long. But let's see what she's about, man. Let's make some changes to the Kelvin universe, as long as it's within continuity. And I don't like Zachary Quinto either.
Well, but again, how often do you see female directors even now?
I don't know.
So you don't see big budget female directors. I mean, I think back in the day you had I want to say Catherine Bigelow. And
didn't she do Hurt Locker?
She did a movie. I mean, back in the '90s, she was a pioneer as far as I can tell. She did a movie that starred another pretty bold move. It starred Angela Bassett, an African American actress, and this was when Angela was still getting her feet wet. A movie called Strange Days.
Oh yeah, that was what's his face? Ralph Fiennes was in that too. Yeah,
Rafe. It's Rafe.
It's Ralph.
It's Rafe. Anyway,
spell it. Ralph.
Well, I'm just telling you how the man pronounces his own name. Anyway, my point is that, and after that, you didn't really hear about female directors until, I want to say, till within the last, 5 years? For big budget films? So this is a pretty big thing.
I'm about to eat some humble pie here. I'm looking at DS9, and they didn't have a female director till it appears to be season 3. And it shouldn't take this long.
Well, it's funny, and Craig, I'm sure you're aware of this. Back on, if you go back to TOS, in somebody's, I forget whose autobiography I was reading. Maybe I think it was Nimoy's. They were saying that I forget her name. Maybe it was DC Fontana. She, even back then, she was calling a lot of the shots for Roddenberry. She started off as his assistant or something, and she basically ascended to being second in command on the production. So, yeah, you're right. It's been a long time coming. You think something as progressive as Star Trek, they would have addressed that a long time ago.
I'm looking through this here. I'm at season 6, and I've seen exactly 2 episodes, actually 3 episodes, directed by 2 women. This is bullshit.
Well, Mark,
I thought they were out front, man. I'm really surprised by this.
I don't know why you're surprised, because
they let Patsy Weber direct an episode. They really did. Oh, this is bullshit.
Why?
They let Wally Cleaver direct an episode.
Wally Cleaver?
Yes. Tony Dow directed an episode.
Maybe it's a different Tony Dow.
No, it ain't. It's him.
Okay.
This is bull.
Shout out to... You're just a rebel without a cause, man.
Now, again, I'm not a director. You are. What qualifies one to be a director? Because I'm looking at the DS9 lineup, and I see that, Cisco directed an episode, LaForge did, Odo did, Worf did.
Right.
Help me out. What does a director do, or is there training for it? Like you would go to, film school to be a cinematographer, or something like that. Help me out here.
I would think you go to film school. If you're going to film school, you're learning at some point you're learning all aspects of different positions of filmmaking, and you probably wind up on a track. I didn't go to film school per se. I went more to I studied broadcasting, but I imagine if you're going to film school, you're probably on a director's track or a DP cinematographer's track, because a lot of the positions below that, like gaffer, grip, best boy, electrician, they're more like blue collar jobs, I'm gonna say, like construction or rigging, stuff like that.
What is a best boy anyway?
That's a good question. He's like a grip. He kind of swings between electrician and gaffer, between those two departments.
Okay.
As far as I know. Okay. And I don't think that term is widely used anymore. But I wanted to say, that reminds me, we were talking about S.J. Clarkson and whether I was saying whether or not she's qualified. I can tell you that I had an experience as a freelancer. This is going way back. I worked for an ad agency in New York City. And depending on the type of commercial that this ad agency had to shoot, as an associate producer, which is what my position there, they would have me go into the stacks and pull director's reels that specifically spoke to the type of commercial that was going to be produced. So this agency had, like they had, at the time they had Burger King, McDonald's, Mountain Dew, Pepsi. And if it was a comedic spot, they would ask me to go in and pull director's reels of all directors that are categorized as comedy. If it was slice of life or dramatic, they would ask me to pull all those reels. So, you know, that is a legitimate way of looking at directors. So that, you know, I have some basis of my concern.
Wow.
Not saying it's right or wrong. Not saying it's right.
You know, I'm looking through Voyager now, and I see 2 female directors. One who was from DS9, and the other one is a different woman. 2.
But those 2 female directors probably directed a number of episodes, not just, right?
3.
Wow.
3 episodes.
Wow.
And I'm seeing Potsy Weber. Now, let me, before I rip Potsy, maybe he has built up a resume as a director. I don't know. But I'm seeing now here, I see Lieutenant Paris is directing an episode.
Yeah, I remember he directed one, yeah.
You know, again, where do your qualifications come from?
Well, for that, you know, I assume that it's kind of like vanity. You know, the actor wants to break up the monotony of coming to work and doing the same thing over and over again. And maybe they're trying to launch a separate career once the show wraps. And, you know, I could see, you know, if you've been on the show for a period of time, you get the flow or the workflow. That's pretty common. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get this last point off on Potsy and I'll drop it. Looking at his resume for directing, he's directed a lot of things, but he's directed Melrose Place, 90210,
right.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Lizzie McGuire, The Secret of the American Teenager. None of that says Star Trek.
Well, that is true. I would say this. I still think, you make a good point, but I still think there's a big difference between going from directing a TV show that gets shot in 4 or 5 days to doing a movie, a big budget movie that takes 2 to 3 months to shoot. And then you have another maybe 4 to 6 months doing all the post. Now, in your favor, Discovery, the production quality of that show was pretty damn big. So, and I think you quoted there was a director that did that episode that didn't have any sci-fi credentials prior. Did you?
I
think you had mentioned a director.
Well, that was part of the problem, yeah. You know,
whoever directed Vaulted Ambition, I think your point was they hadn't done anything sci-fi either. So that's a point in your favor, but you know I'm sticking by my guns.
Well, I'm glad they have a woman doing it. I had mistakenly thought that Star Trek was way out front on that, but they ain't. Yes, bad grammar. So let's see what she can do. You know, get out of the way, let her do her thing.
See, what's interesting is I figured Craig would be the one really pissed because he's been very vocal about how he hated that they demoted Majel Barrett from number 1 to nurse, was it?
Nurse Chapel.
Yeah.
Nurse Chapel.
Yeah.
And they made her a blonde. Come on.
No, I mean, I the thing is, I just expected that to be the case. That's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
I got something I gotta talk about here on Discovery. Burnham, if they bring her back as full commander,
dude, get over it.
No,
they're gonna do that.
No, they're wrong. They're wrong. Now, if you want to make her into the command rotation, make her like a lieutenant commander, let her earn it back. Okay, I'm okay with that. But just to boot her out for mutiny as a commander, and now bring her back at full command? Nah, hell no.
Listen,
no.
I can't remember where I stood on that when we were talking about the finale episode last year. Right now, I'm gonna say, she did save an entire freaking planet. To you, that's like water off a duck's back, right?
It doesn't warrant someone being on Skid Row, then being made commander. No. It gets her back in the Federation. Okay, fine. Gets her back in Starfleet. Okay, fine. But back to her full command status? No. Where is it shown that she's learned her lesson? No.
Well,
No.
I think I was like, that didn't make sense to me either. But, I can understand it. Craig, you break the tie. What do you think? Should she be a full commander when she comes back?
I would not be upset if they made her full commander, because as far as I could tell, they'd forgiven her. They understood the situation. They knew that she didn't start the war, and she understood why she went against her captain. That's what I took out of it, that they understood all of that. And they basically said, we're going to go back on that decision because it was a bad one.
So chain of command means nothing.
Well,
if I'm on that ship and she, and I'm a lieutenant commander or an ensign about to get bumped up, and now I got to wait again or get pushed back because they let her come back at full rank? No. No, no, no. If I'm on that ship, I'd have to leave.
Yeah.
There it is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. The one thing they never answered for me is, we saw in the first episode, we saw the black Starfleet badges. They never really addressed that, and a lot of people thought that was Section 31. Now, Craig, you said that you saw in the article that they were gonna expand on Section 31, right?
yes, that's correct.
All right, cool. So we're going to start to wrap this up now, but let me just ask, I think I know the answer. This is a long shot, but have either of you read any of the Star Trek Discovery novels?
Negative.
No. All right. So I did read the first one, and, I downloaded it. It's an audiobook.
So you ain't read then, have you?
I read it with my ears.
You listened to it.
I read it with my ears.
I read it with my ears.
Yeah, right.
Really?
That's right. That's right. And what was interesting is that Spock plays a large role in the book. I don't want to spoil it, but he and Burnham go on a mission to try to deactivate this war machine. So again, it's going to be interesting if we see the Enterprise and we see Pike. I just don't know how they get around, Burnham just saying, "Hey, let me go see my half brother," or whatever, or some kind of communication that they have with each other. There's a new novel that just came out, and Craig, you might want to check this out. I'm a little more than halfway through it. It's called Drastic Measures, and it features Commander Philippa Georgiou and Commander Gabriel Lorca. So neither of them are captain yet, and it takes place during the massacre on Tarsus 4, which was the basis of the episode Conscience of the King, the original series. You remember that episode?
Yes.
So and the novel so far is really good. The person who's voicing it is really good. But what's interesting is Lorca is a commander, and this takes place, I think it takes place 6 years before Kirk and Spock on the Enterprise. So I'm like, what doesn't make sense to me is Lorca, he really went deep embedded into Starfleet to wind up where he did on the finale, wouldn't you say? Or he wasn't in the finale, but the last few episodes.
A lot of these novel type things take a lot of creative license, which is cool, but it also sets up their backstory. But other than that, there's not much there for me to really want to jump into.
I understand. I'm just saying it doesn't really make sense that they would have. It doesn't make sense that the character of Lorca would go into the Prime universe from the Mirror universe for the express purpose of grabbing a starship and coming back to fight Emperor Georgiou, and spend all this time to do that. I thought it was a little bit far-fetched that he went back, that we saw him in the period of the first season of Discovery. It seems like he would just go back, grab that starship, and get the back into the mirror universe. But now in this novel, he's gone back, even further than that. So it just, I don't know, just seemed a little weird. But the novel's good, Craig. I think you would get into it since you were a big original series fan.
I'll try. It's a thing of time.
Hey, man, that's what Audible.com.
But I think it's because you do long drives in your car, so you can actually achieve that. But I don't. But yeah, no, I'll definitely check it out then.
All right.
Here's something.
Here we go.
With my colossal ego, which I've been accused of having,
but
I just call it confidence. Shut up.
The guy, wait. The guy who has his initials embossed on his sleeves, his tailor-made sleeves, shirt sleeves.
They never get lost at dry cleaners.
Good point. Okay, all right.
And on that actual topic, the inside jacket or inside pockets on my jackets all do say "Big Sexy."
Okay.
I like it.
Now that I've looked up what a director actually does, I think I could have done it. Because the director is the person, based on this one definition that I'm seeing, that the director takes the screenplay and uses their vision to bring it to the screen. So that means the director oversees your cinematographer, your effects, your casting, all that. It's really like being a head coach. I could do that.
Possibly, but I would say the best directors really have a strong vision. They understand camera movement, camera dynamics, framing.
Oh, great.
How to place items into a scene. It helps if you have a really strong visual sense.
I can see that. But also, you can do that by your selection of your DP as well. Because you lean on them a lot for that to set that shot up. Yeah,
I mean, Woody Allen, and I don't know why we're talking about this right now, but Woody Allen, I would call him more of an actor's director than a visual director. I think he likes to work with actors more. I think Spike Lee is kind of the same. He has a little bit of a visual flair, at least back in the day. But yeah.
Yeah, but Spike really leaned on Ernest Dickerson more than anything else.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And while Spike concentrated on getting the performance he wanted, he would lean on Ernest Dickerson to set the scene. I'm guessing. I know me, even though I only shoot corporate videos, I have a particular gaffer that I like to use, and I'll tell them, look, okay, the patient's going to be sitting here, the actor playing the patient's here, the doctor's going to be sitting on this side of the desk. I'd like to key him from this side and give him a hair light over there and make it look like it's coming through a window. Then I walk away because I know he knows what I want. I know he can do it. And then I'm setting up the camera and talking to the actors. So all right,
off the wall, but that just reminded me of that Seinfeld episode where Kramer has to play a disease.
Oh right, yeah. Oh, what did he say?
Was he jaundice?
It was a dark room. I saw her across the room. Oh, I pursued and she withdrew, and she pursued and I withdrew, and much like the burning I felt when trying to urinate. I just watched that episode recently.
Oh, really? Oh, jeez. Funny.
But all right. So we kind of got off track. Hey, this is the Star Trek podcast, but we also give you a little bit of, we go all geek out. We geek out every now and then. It's okay. It's all right. On that note, we will see you soon.
Bye.
Tig Notaro is not funny.
Okay.
Put her on a special with Tracy Morgan and Dane Cook and nobody watch it.
Is she a lesbian?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Not that it matters.
Clearly you've never seen her.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all.
I thought Dane Cook was funny. I don't get that.
Dane Cook is not funny.
He made me laugh.
He's sometimes a little bit funny, but otherwise.
A broken clock is right twice a day. He ain't funny.
Okay. Well, I guess that's proven by the fact I haven't seen him since 2008. I don't know, whenever that was.
What's that tell you?
All right.
Hey, use You're the editor, Mike, so you can cut out what you think is offensive.
Which I never do.
You don't?
Dick.
I spent my evening arguing with idiot Trump people on Facebook last night. I should stop doing that. Really, it's like talking about a serious topic with a 3-year-old.
Okay. What were you all saying about me while I was not here? There's something in the air, man. It's just post-nasal drip. God.
It's called spring.
You're gonna go into your Felix Unger.
No. All right, here we go. Oh, so maybe she's from Mississippi, not Tennessee. I got that wrong.
Difference? That was wrong. That was wrong.
I was going to say same thing, but no, I'm not going to say that. I'll probably have to edit that out. Anyway, Red Shirts is not endorsed by Paramount Pictures, Viacom, or CBS. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Star Trek, the Star Trek logo, and all names, pictures, and audio of Star Trek characters are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.